Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode from, of course,
China.
my name is Fernando, and this is
Ziv.
And today we have a very special guest, Ludovic. Ziv, why don't you tell us something about
Ludovic Casteleyn.
Casteleyn?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Ludo, you were born in Hong Kong. No, sorry, you were not born in Hong Kong, but you moved to Hong Kong in a very young age, 2 months old, with your parents, and you grew up in Hong Kong, and then you moved to Switzerland for a very famous hospitality school in Lausanne, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then after that, you travel in China, and then you started your career in hotels, both in Switzerland, in Hong Kong, and Dubai and the Maldives. Very interesting career.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
And now you are working in a hotel here in Dongguan in China.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Well, welcome to the show, Ludo.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay, so we are going to start talking. I'm pretty interested, and I'm sure some of our viewers and listeners are interested in what is it like to grow up in Hong Kong before the handover, like in the 90s. So I know you moved there when you were very, very young, but what do you remember about growing up? What do you remember about going to school in Hong Kong at that time, society in Hong Kong at that time? Why don't you tell us some about these things?
So just to put things in perspective, so my family got there in 1987. So the handover happened in 1997. So that was 10 years. So I was kind of young. So I do remember a couple of things, but I was actually in the French International School over there. So with a bunch of Frenchies, I guess, also. So, not in deep down inside the Hong Kongese culture. So to say a little bit of the exposure. So I do remember, the thing is, we were not that many expats at that time also. I definitely have this feeling, yeah. And as an expat, maybe especially the French community, we were really living as a community and in between Frenchies,
Like a cluster of people. They all knew each other.
Yeah. Very
You
much.
knew
a
all their
small village
parents.
in the town,
In, in the Hong Kong side of Hong Kong.
Hong Kong side,
Right.
yeah. At that time, everyone was basically living on the Hong Kong side.
So you got there when you're 2 months old. Did you have any during these 10 years before the handover? Did you have any local friends, Hong Kongese?
A couple. Actually, a couple of local friends who were at the French International School. Those couple of friends who were Hong Kong by birth and passport and everything. So they were Hong Kong people. But they at some point, because they were staying in the French International School, studying with us, and spending most of their time with us, they did pick up a lot of the French culture as well. So as I told earlier, also I had some extracurricular activities, as in like judo, like swimming, this and that, rugby, whatever, and that I got to meet more like locals, Hong Kong people. But again, it was a very expat kind of environment,
Right, in Hong Kong back then.
So I guess it's at that time, I was really this expat kid with. Like an expat.
But like we
already.
spoke before in the preparation. I guess you did. So what you're saying, you didn't really have many local friends, but I guess you also didn't have many other nationalities kind of friends. It was really French.
Yeah,
right.
Very much.
Like you say, like a cluster. So did you the school? You went to the French International School, right?
Yeah.
And the whole school studied in French. In French?
No, so there was the French stream and the English stream. So basically the school was divided in two, in between those who would actually have their classes in French and those who would have their classes in English. So basically those who would have their classes in French were mostly French or from a French-speaking country, like
Switzerland,
Belgium, Swiss, maybe French-Canadian or something. But there were also some locals or some other nationalities whom the parents, maybe would speak French a bit and decided, the best way for their kid to actually learn like another language would actually to set them up in a French school. Like you, Fernando.
That was actually my parents' decision. They figured, okay, my kids can learn English anytime. It's just very easy. So let's put them in a French school so they could have an advantage in life. And
Right.
basically
When
that's
I was
what
in the
did.
middle school, we could choose the third language to study for 3 years, and the choice was French or Arabic. I chose Arabic.
Yeah, good
I
for you.
know,
Actually.
je m'appelle
French is a
Ziv,
horrible,
that's all I know.
French
yes.
is a horrible language, actually.
No,
But,
no, no.
but how come? Okay, it's the French international school. Why do they have English stream?
Because just to,
For
to
expats,
pay
I
the
guess.
bills, I guess, just
So
to have
more
more
people-
Cater to expats.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And they teach them a little French, so
So the Hong Kong, I mean, for people that don't know, I mean, okay, Hong Kong has a lot of expats. Back then, maybe more than now. I'm not
No,
sure.
I
back
don't
then
think so.
way less than now.
Less than
Yeah,
now, but
of
it was
course.
even though it was British.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's French, I guess French international school is not the only kind of specific kind of international
No,
school.
no, there was plenty.
they were
Yeah.
they were
There was
also
the
German
German
school,
Swiss.
yeah.
There was the German Swiss. There was what?
Deutsche
There,
Schule.
French, the
sure,
German.
there was a Japanese
American,
school.
I'm sure,
For sure, there was a
Japanese,
Korean school.
Korean.
And then there was. I don't think there was like a British school, an American school, because that's English speaking. So they would actually,
No, but they probably would have some British schools and some American schools, because if they wanted the kids to go to
Maybe.
university in the States, they'll go
Right.
with SAT. That's the same thing. Your preparation that you did in the French school prepared you for the baccalaureate.
yeah.
You didn't take Chinese examinations or anything like that.
Right. So I'll just hit the spot right away. I mean, so you grew up in Hong Kong, but and you studied in a French school, and you do not speak Cantonese.
I don't speak Cantonese. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's the
You
the
feel
kind of disappointment,
Okay.
about living in Hong Kong for so long not to be able to speak Cantonese. Although I do understand a little bit. That's usually how I say it.
you do understand
It's probably
some.
better,
a
right?
little bit.
Probably better. You know what they're saying about you.
Yeah.
You know some. He probably knows more. I would assume, right?
No.
Right. I don't know.
Cantonese?
You can just joke in Cantonese, I guess.
I only
You have
joke
some.
Cantonese.
Okay, it's the
Yeah.
same thing every
Just
time.
let's play the clown, say a few words.
Right.
No, but
So you
I'm
do
sure
feel
he
it-
speaks better than me.
You do feel a bit sorry about this. Is it weird when you say to people, I grew up in Hong Kong, and it's like they expect
Actually,
you to speak Cantonese?
The weird thing is, I feel weird about this. Hong Kong people don't.
Okay.
When I say this to Hong Kong people, they're like, yeah, well, actually, at the end in Hong Kong, you can speak English. So they're
Right.
like, yeah, whenever
That's the
I
way
say
it
this to Hong
was.
Kong people, they're like, well, yeah, makes sense. But I do feel weird about this, And the way I put it also is when I say this to people who are not from Hong Kong, they feel weird also about this, And when I
Like
say
us.
this to Hong Kong, to French people, they're like, dude, that's kind of disrespectful, You've been living there for so long,
Yes.
you don't even speak the local language, That's
Like
bad,
what we said, Fernando, right? We've been here almost 20 years, and we don't really speak fluent Mandarin.
It's the biggest regret and the biggest shame. I mean, when you said, how long you been here? 20 years. Oh, so your Mandarin must be so good. I'm like, no, buddy. Sorry. Sorry
Yeah.
to disappoint you there. I always excuse myself with the fact that people come to me to learn English because that's my job. So I don't have that many opportunities because everybody tries to communicate in English.
So you speak English, Spanish, French,
and some Mandarin.
some Mandarin, and just funny Cantonese.
The funny country. No, I understand a lot of Italian, a lot of Portuguese, because
do?
it's kind of like a
Wow.
mix of Italian, French and Spanish. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So
How about you, Ziv? How's your Mandarin? How's your Cantonese?
Fine, thank you. And
Mama
you?
ho ho, mama ho ho. I think I know how it is. It's like you tell people, no, I don't really speak Mandarin, but then they come and you're in a taxi with them and you speak some, and they think you speak Mandarin. No, I don't. You don't get it.
Yeah.
I speak good.
It's very limited.
Yes, it's in this situation. Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah. It's
But
situational.
in another 99
speaking.
situations, I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You
right.
take
Right.
me out of the confines of this particular situation in this shop where I'm buying these shoes, and I'm screwed.
But it might be okay, good enough to write Chinese on your LinkedIn account.
More than the others.
Yes. So okay, we go back to you 87 to 97, you say, right? So
Yeah.
and then the handover
Yeah.
happened.
How was
Yeah.
that experience?
So I remember actually at that time it was a big thing actually.
The
I
handover
remember my
from-
parents
from-
getting all
Yeah,
excited
from
about
British
this, huh?
ruling to going back to,
To Chinese.
Chinese.
Yes,
Mm, mm,
yeah.
mm. So
1997.
So yeah, it
97.
was a international wise history books will talk about this.
Sure.
The handover. It's a big date actually. So my parents they booked some sort of some bureau, some flat, you know, where they could have a nice view over the harbor to see actually
the Queen was there, right?
The Queen was not there. You crazy?
No?
No, was she? I don't
Why
remember.
was she
I don't
there
think so. I just remember this guy with the kilt who actually went off, and you know we saw
I
his ass
think
or
where
something.
maybe
you
I
know?
remember it wrong. I remember that was a big event. I remember
Maybe the
watching
Queen
something.
was there. Could be actually
I think
because
she
again,
was.
again, that was
The handover British and the Queen, you know.
could be, or the Prime Minister for sure.
At least the
100%
Prime
sure.
Minister. That
We will check that. We will
We'll
see.
check.
Yes.
I'll
Google
check
is your
definitely
friend.
check, you know. But so the thing is, we booked actually this whole thing to have to look at this massive firework, and the next day it was like a big thing on the news. Also looking at the whole ceremony, you know, this kind of getting down the flags, getting up the Chinese flag, you know, and it was history in the moment.
What was
you know?
the community feeling? I mean, what we've experienced last year, we see all this animosity, all this yeah. But at that time, were people sad? The local people, were they sad? Were they unhappy? Were they worried? What was the temperature?
Well, people didn't know what to expect. You know, people didn't know what to expect. You know, as I said, speaking, my perspective is more on the foreigner expat kind of side.
And also,
Yeah, but on the
you were
ground.
10 also.
But you were on the ground.
So what I can say is, you know, as we said earlier, is for instance, my parents, they were considering to buy a flat over there before the handover, and they just didn't do it because they didn't know what would happen when would all the foreigners get expelled within 1 year?
Well,
Could it be? You know, we had no idea. You know, so I don't know. People were just waiting and seeing. You know.
Right.
And now it happened, and
Did it change looking back? Now you're older. You were 10 back then, but did it change Hong Kong? You think?
I don't see much change. Seriously, I don't see much change. There's been people speak a little bit more Mandarin now in the streets, right?
Right.
But in the everyday life, I did not see anything. You know. Then again, I have like this expat kind of view. So I'm in even when I go back to Hong Kong, I'm still not deep down inside the Hong Kong culture. I always have like a sideway look or something, you know. But then you hear also about these laws which they come through, trying to suppress the liberty of speech and everything. But at the end, as I feel, it does not change much of Hong Kong. And I don't know if ever we want to go in this subject, but at the end, for me, it's China and China. China is Hong Kong, and that's it, you know.